everything that everything I said is basically in the sheets that I sent to the group. And if you take the time to read all the stuff, you know that there are a lot of stuff, blah blah blah. So now let's get to what we didn't do last class, and that is classes and IDs. Now we have what's known as the class and HTML, and we have what's known as IDs. So IDs are, like their name signifies, they're basically just identifiers or maybe a particular element or a piece of code or section of code rather. So in this point here, let me increase the view. I don't know if you can see it better. All right. So just a minute. Okay, all right. So yeah, so like I was saying, IDs are basically identifiers. So for instance, if we have an input, we have this input element here, this input box, and you want to name this input box, or like give it a specific name that no other elements in the whole HTML code can have. We would give it an ID, and it can be anything we want. It can be maybe input box, it can be username if it takes a username, it can be whatever user ID, whatever you want it to be. But the point is that in the HTML code, once you give an element an ID, it is not usable again for any other element. It's just for a specific element. And that is basically just it for IDs. Use IDs to target elements in CSS or in JavaScript. You use them to target the element. Maybe you want this specific element to do something. Because let's be honest, in our code, we have multiple input boxes. So if we are using maybe CSS or JavaScript or whatever container we are using, and you want to target this particular input boxes, you can't just target the elements. You have to target something that's specific to this input box. You understand? Something that's specific to this input box, because all of them are input. All of them are input elements. So you targeting the input element basically target the three of them. So in case I want this to be red or blue or black, and the rest of them should be other colors, I can target them individually. That is all for IDs. IDs are just basically to give unique names to elements in HTML structure. And we get to classes. Classes are username. And then classes are somewhat similar, but classes are basically group names. You see, they allow you to group they allow you to group any amount of HTML elements you want to under a category that you can target. So if I have this, like for instance, this is an input element. This is an input element. This is an input element. Now, if I want all my input boxes to be red or blue, I can specify a class red for each input boxes. I can specify a class red for each input boxes, and I can now target this class in my JavaScript or my CSS file and color the input boxes red. So like if I'm just targeting the classes, I can actually target only one class red, but because I'm targeting a class that is common in these three, all of them will have color red. And you see that when we are doing CSS parts. See, now the thing about classes and IDs is that are very important. To me, they're one of the most important, if not the most important part of your structure, especially classes. You have you have codes that don't use classes and IDs, but it is very difficult for you to now target elements, especially when you have a lot of elements in your page, a lot of things going, a lot of things working in your page. It's going to be very difficult to do that without classes or IDs. And I'll advise you to always prefer using classes rather than IDs, unless you want to target something that's specific. Like for example, we have a, let's say we have like a button element. You see this button element, I think is in sheet. If you are ready to see it. If I have this one, they're just buttons, basically. So let's say we have a button element, enter, and this button element enter, I think it should be on live share already. You know, yeah, this is it here. This is enter. Let me clear this stuff for now. Okay. Good. All right, I'm coming. Give me a minute. Okay, yeah. So this is the button element enter on that is it right here. And in looking at various sites, maybe or any site that you look at, maybe your Facebook, your Google, whatever, their buttons always look the same. Your enter button always looks the same as maybe give access button, whatever button they're using in their whole file structure. Their HTML file structure, their website looks the same, and that is because they styled them the same. So they can have like a class that is just for the button, and to style this button in the CSS, and when they style it in the CSS, anytime they have a new button, if I have a new button, let's say I have a new button for proceed or whatever, give access or authenticate or whatever, and I just add this class to that element, to that element, it is going to apply the same style, the style that was applied for this element to apply to that next element. So even if I have something like authenticate, it's going to apply this same this same style for can you okay whatever. So now it's going to apply this same style for that you style for this class. I'm going to apply it to this one too, and it doesn't mean that because this one is a button, that this one has to be a button. You understand? It can, like, I can also apply it if I have a let's see, like I said, a red class, that is anything that has this class. Can you off your, I don't know, speaker or something? Whoever has it on. Okay, so if I have a red class, like as is here, like for any elements that has this red class, I'll style them red. I'll change the color to red. A button can be red, a input box can be red, a form can be red, a text can be red. So I can actually apply this class red to different types of, like I can have a AP, this is red, and this here will have a class of red, and it's exactly the same thing. This, whatever style I apply to this class will get reflected in any element that contains that class. And that's just the basics of classes and IDs. Classes help your code to be very structured because you can allow you to group elements so that you don't have to have redundant code. You don't have to, when you want to change a particular element or a couple of elements in your page, you have to start changing them individually. Or when you change a particular element in your page, maybe that you can't see the elements, for instance, you can simply just go to the classes that it has and see, okay, this is the style that this class has, and you use that style in other places that you want to use it, maybe by adding the classes and rather copying, because redundant coding is extremely bad. It doesn't make any sense. So it's going to help you store and reduce that a lot. So, and if you are doing this, the IDs, you have classes, that is basically all for HTML. Provided we have understood the tags, you have understood the classes and the IDs, and you have understood the basic structure of how we want our code to be, that everything here is in the head, and the titles in there, this portion is in the head, our login page is the title, and the body section, that what contains our whole code, our whole structure, whatever. So that is just the basics. So since we're done with this now, we can just go into CSS. Though there are other stuff in HTML that you can know. You can know Flash, video, audio. Many people don't use it except in very huge size, and most of the time, many people actually don't use it most of the time. It's not bad. You can learn about it, but Flash is outdated. None of our browsers use Flash again. You can just use HTML, video, or video span, whatever. You can learn about those in spare time so that to broaden your knowledge whatsoever. But apart from those other attributes and stuff, that's basically it. Yeah, and let me go back to this image part. I think this image part, I saw this image yesterday about this being the source and this being the alternate image. I can see the image that are going to be loaded. And we also have different attributes. Like I said, we can specify the width to be, I don't know, I think 100 should be okay. As you can specify the width to be 100, that's 100 pixels. Everything, the default unit in HTML says pixels. So if you are defining a width, this is not bad. You adding styles to your HTML structure if you require it, it's not bad. But you advise you to always have your styles in your CSS and just keep your HTML plain structure. No additional styles or whatever. This is a style. You are making the width. So you can specify the height to be whatever you want. Sorry about that. Height should be maybe 300. It should it will somewhat stretch the image because of it's not following the aspect ratio anymore. So that's just basically it. You have other styles too. You can, but just learn about this. This here are the attributes. Don't forget that this here are attributes. This attribute is doing what is synonymous to what a style in CSS does. Attributes basically, many attributes don't do that. You understand? So you having this width down is same thing as me in CSS and specifying the width at 100 pixels or maybe 100 rem or whatever you want. That is the same thing in CSS, but it is not the same. It is not called the same thing. The width in the CSS is a property. The width we are seeing here is an attribute. All these are attributes. They are attributes. So just to get the term correctly, so you wouldn't be calling this a style. This is not a style. This is an attribute that does what the style does. Doesn't mean it's a style. So are you guys still hearing me? Are you guys paying attention?
Yeah, we can hear.
I am.
Okay. So now that is just about the HTML structure, everything about it, nothing more. So let's go to CSS. Now, CSS is basically a style sheet. It is just style. There are no rules except your basic rules like opening your brackets, closing your opening and closing your braces and other stuff. But there is no compiler whatsoever. It just tells the browser how to render the HTML structure, how you want it to render for you to look on the page. Because we already have our basic structure down here, but I mean nobody wants to enter a website and let it and see it looking cluttered and messy as this. You want to make it more appealing and graphic. So we use CSS for that. And we already made our style the CSS file. Yeah. We can we can for us to actually like use our style the CSS HTML file, we have to actually make the HTML file aware of this style the CSS. You have to actually link it. So we link it by using a link element, and you can see all this devices here. They are giving us all this so you can see if you go down here, you can see that for the CSS it is a style sheet, and it is the href attribute, that is what it's looking to is a style.css. This is just a template. It doesn't have to be style.css. I can call it whatever I want. I call it home, I call it index.css, whatever, login.css, it doesn't really matter. So, and you also see that various links, like for your favicon, what this favicon link does is that it's allow you to load your browser icon, maybe your web page, you have an icon, your GT bank, your GT icon, loads it for you. This is what actually links the image, because all those icons are also basically image. They can be .icus, PNGs, JPEG, whatsoever. So you use this link structure here. You have a link relative shortcut icon. The href will be the favicon.ic. You can call it the icon, whatever name you want to.
No.
It's standard for you to call your website icon in favicon. So like that. And type is an image .x icon. That's just it. You also have other ones like for you to import a component in HTML, for you to use an RSS, and that's just everything to use for the manifest. So you just can learn about all these things. You may not use most of them in your whole career. You may not even use in like about like this one and this one. The CSS and Favicon you always use it. For the rest of them you never touch it. It doesn't really matter. But it's good to know that they're there. So we have the link.css, so you can just select this one, and like that, the MS has given us your template. So this is a style sheet. This just shows you that okay, what I'm linking to is a style sheet. What am I linking to? A style sheet. That's what this just shows us, the type of file that we are linking to in this link element. And this here is the name of the CSS file. So from here, we know that, let me collapse this. We know that this index.html file is in the same scope as this style of CSS, but for a better file, most structures you always have your CSS file, the styles contained in the styles folder. You can have it contained in a CSS folder. So let's put out in the CSS folder. All these icons, different icons for your images, your if you have an HTML icon to change, folder to change, your CSS to change. It's just a feature of the project manager extension that you should download, and it will do all this for you, so that at least you know that okay, this is a CSS folder, whatever it's called, not okay. Now this is CSS, and we have our style CSS. Let me put it inside. Here. Now we have our style CSS. Now you can see that this index.html is not in the same parent folder, because our folder is an HTML that we see this is HTML, but the CSS is also contained in the folder. So by normal file structure, you know that you have to move one step further to get to your style CSS. So this link in here, remember what I said about relative links? This is this link, that style of CSS is cannot work. That style of CSS is the same as basically saying style.css. You having a backslash in the beginning equates is the same thing as you having referring to the root directory. That is the very first directory. So that means the parent directory here is the index, this is the HTML directory. Sorry, let me close this at the top. This is the HTML directory. So this slash, first of all, what I'm putting here is the first slash. It just basically says, okay, go to the parent directory, then start the system, look for this file in that parent directory. Don't enter, you're not going to enter any of this. You're going to look for it. As mid of the start of CSS outside here, that's what you to pick up and to link it. But since there is none here, it wouldn't see anything. Okay, so how do we now, because we know that our style of CSS is not always it's not always going to be in the parent folder. And plus, if you're having a CSS file, maybe in our login page, if we're using an absolute link like like this slash or this one here, it means that it's going straight to me. As you can see, when I press the slash, it takes me immediately to the parent directory. So we don't want to, it's not if you don't want to do it, you can't do it, but most of the time we like to use relative linking that, okay, depending on where we are, we can go forward in the structure, we can go back on the structure, similar to your file explorer. If you are in your downloads, maybe your pictures, and you go to your pictures, you know there's your parent folder. You can now enter the screenshot folder, screenshot directory. Then you see your screenshots. So if I'm in my screenshots, how do I want to go back to the parents folder? How to use a relative link to go back to that? So for that, you can just specify it by using the dots, by putting a dot in front of the slash. So for instance, you put a dot here, like I said, dot is the root folder. Root here doesn't mean the parent folder. It means that this index.html is outside, is in this scope, that is in this directory scope, right? So which means that this dot represents this directory. So let me put the slash here. These dots represent this this directory here. So if I was in login.html as such here, and I put a dot slash, it represents this directory login. It doesn't represent the parent directory. It represents, okay, you are in the scope of this login. You want to move forward. What are we looking for? We're looking for whatever file it is. So for instance, let me make that a little bit clearer. For instance, in this login, let's make another folder CSS, because each page rather, all of them have their own specific CSS file that they load. And in this CSS directory, we can make a login.css. Okay, so as we're here now, in this login.html file, for instance, we are basically saying that, okay, when you put the dot slash, as you can see, we are in the hierarchy, we're in the login directory, and that is our root directory for now. That is just is a local scope, basically. That's what it does. So us being here, we can now go into the CSS folder that I want to link and go just click on it with your all this IntelliSense stuff. When you install the extensions, I think they're also in build. Okay, but regardless, let's move on. As you can see now, whatever CSS I have in this CSS folder, it will give me suggestions, whether I log in CSS or maybe like just a portion, maybe like a modal.css, because I have my login page having maybe a small pop-up when it loads something, or maybe when I log in there, it says you are being redirected somewhere, and I want to put another CSS file. I can link multiple CSS to CSS files to a page. So I'll see multiple CSS here. So I can just click it. So now I'm clicking login CSS. That means this link is basically saying, okay, we're in the login. The dot slash is saying, okay, now we're in this login directory where the HTML file is contained. Go forward, go to the CSS and go here. That's what it's about. If you're in the index.html file, we do the same thing too. We do the CS/CSS and we take our style of CSS. See, if I want to link to maybe this one inside this login inside this login of CSS inside the login directory for whatever reason, maybe I can easily just use the dot slash. I'll just pick the slash, and I'll take a go to the login directory. Inside the login directory, I'll go to the CSS and I'll go to the login. And that's basically it about this whole thing element. So you just use it to link your CSS files for the browser to know that, okay, this page is what I want to use CSS, this style sheet to render this whole page. Now let's get to the actual CSS. So we are going back to CSS, style CSS. So as you can see, if I hover on this, I can see like a follow link here. So even if, let's say we didn't have the style, the CSS here, let's say I deleted this. So now this file doesn't basically exist in this CSS folder. So what I do is I can just hover on it and show me, tell me to follow the link. I can just click follow the link, and it will say unable to open this style of CSS. Well, it also gives me a suggestion to create it. So I can easily just create it. So it's one thing you can, so for you to, maybe you have a folder of your CSS and your HTML page, you don't want to start going here and, I don't know, pressing new file, writing the name of a new file. You can just put a link immediately. I can make another one here. I can just make maybe like a home.css. And I'll come here, follow link, and I'll create it. And now as you can see, the home.css is here. So it makes everything, it speeds everything up makes everything much quicker rather. So using this. So now we are back in our start of CSS. Now let's go to CSS. The first thing I'm going to talk about now is this basic structure of the CSS, and it is just about having your descriptors, that is your elements, or maybe your classes that you have used your HTML, and altering their properties, because every HTML element have all of them have their own specific property. All of them, there are general properties to go around, but some of them are more specific to elements, some of them are not. And for the CSS, what you do is basically to alter it. Okay, now let's go back here. So in the browser, you can see all this okay, I'm coming. Okay, you guys can see them, right? Okay, so in the browser, we can see all these all this HTML ugly looking stuff. And if you want, and you know that this is actually big, this is smaller, and whatever this is, this has a button field, this has the select button field, where it does look very ugly because we haven't styled it yet. But all of them are actually styled. They are styled by default by your browser. Your browser actually injects your what you know as a user agent style sheet. So that is by default. Oh wow, this is true. Sorry, can you guys hear me? I don't get feedback.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
All right. So by default, your browser, like I said, it injects a CSS file to your HTML code. So even if you did not edit anything, the H1 tag always look like this, and all this stuff look like this. So, but most of the time it's out of your control, for instance. So what you want to do is that you want to style it yourself, right? Because an H1 tag is going to look like this, or H2 tag is look like this, whatever one we use. A text is going to look like, depending on how, or maybe it's zoomed in or zoomed out, whatever, is going to look similar. It's going to look generic. So what we're going to do is that whatever style we are using in our own, whatever style we're injecting into the browser, that's our own specific style sheet, we are basically just overriding it. So for instance, if we have this web page, and for whatever reason we cannot fetch the CSS file, okay, whether you can't fetch the CSS file from the server, what will happen is that it will look like this mess, because we cannot, the server for whatever reason cannot load the CSS file that we have used, or have linked it to our HTML file. So it doesn't have anything else to load. So what it does by default is your browser, like I told you, injects a user agent style sheet, and that's what it looks like this. So even if you link a wrong CSS file, maybe you have a wrong linking, maybe you didn't specify the file path correctly, it would give you this nonsense for whatever structure that is. It will give you this nonsense. And I don't know if you guys can you guys see this pin that I'm in, or can you just see the browser?
Yeah.
Or can see this pin?
Yes.
Okay. All these pins are just inspector tools for you to be able to see how the browser looks like in real time. But we'll deal with this later. This portion is basically for your JavaScript code, in case you want to see maybe what errors it's throwing in real time. You can use your IDs if you're using maybe WebStorm or whatever. It could show you in the ID itself, but most of the time we use the browser's console. So continue now. Let's go to the network, and let's load it. As you can see, all this stuff here, they are just fetches. Your browser goes and fetches it fetches your resource from these resources. It fetches them from your server, your index.html. It fetches them from the server, all these ones here are just plugins because of the amount of extensions like MetaMask. These ones are just different stuff. So don't focus on this. But this, it fetches your images, your index, your whatever. It fetches them and it loads them into the page. As you can see here, you can see what we have here: a user agent style sheet. This user agent style sheet sets a style already. It sets the body to be display block. That's why the body is a block element. You can change the body to whatever type. Maybe you can change the body to inline elements or whatever. You see that CSS makes HTML code, very rigid HTML code in its nature, more flexible. So normally, like I said before, the body, we have we have block elements, we have inline elements. But in CSS, that doesn't, there's no one specific type of element we have, whether block or inline or whatever. We can actually manipulate them, can actually change them from block to inline anytime we want. So the browser, from here we can see that the browser actually has a user agent style sheet, like I've said multiple times, and it makes the display block. We'll get to all this in a second. All this here, okay, this, let me just use as the basic structure of the CSS. This is the descriptor. It can be a class, can be an ID, can be an element. For instance, this is a body element that we have used in our HTML code. So this body here, what we're using here. So this tells us that, okay, it tells the browser that, okay, the CSS that, okay, now in the body elements, this body element that we're referencing, we want to set all these properties. All these here are properties, and all these here are property values. I want the margin to be 8 pixels, whatever the margin is when we get there. I want it to be 8 pixels. The body, it will set the margin of this body element to 8 pixels, and so on and so forth. You can actually see all the stuff we're doing here. See, the form is actually here. I see it. This is a JavaScript. This one is injected into our code by the browser. You get to understand this one next. When the next lead takes you. The section, like you have this section before, let's open it. As you can see, this is the student image, all the stuff. So yeah, exactly, basic stuff, this stuff is just, this element is just for you to show how what it looks like. And you can actually like edit it if you want to see how it looks like in real time. I can just say edit to HTML, and I can see this is the table of today's students results, and if I click out, it updates that this is the table of today's students results. Though it doesn't actually change the file structure itself. As you can see, it is still, this is a table of students results, but at this instance, it's like the browser creates a copy for you to basically manipulate yourself, so that no matter what, you can change whatever it is on the code on the browser page, and without actually changing the actual browser code, the actual resource that is pulling from the server with these developer tools. This section is what we know as our developers, our dev tools, and we can use it for, it's a very, very important tool when debugging, because like I said before, there are no HTML is not like it's a programming language. It doesn't have like specific like rules also, except from the basic structure. And you can do whatever you want to do in it. So because of that amount of power, as opposed to maybe you are the other languages that it will give you an error year or year. HTML doesn't give you an error. CSS, they don't give you errors. They don't give you errors. So if you make an error, and let's say you have like 100 lines of CSS code for it to begin with, let's just say few small code on 100 lines, and you made a mistake somewhere, your browser will actually render your mistake too. It will render everything together, and it will show you whatever mess you have programmed. It will show whatever mess you have programmed on your web page, and that makes it very difficult for us to be able to pinpoint where our error is, because it can be going through. Imagine you have CSS files that multiple CSS files and 1,000 lines or whatever the case may be, with different descriptors flying around, you understand, different specificity. You see that it's going to be extremely difficult for you to just look through your code and say that, oh, this is what I supposed to have done. Oh, I forgot this comma here. Oh, I forgot this semicolon here. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult. So for that, we use like I said, use extensions to highlight our code for us, so that at least we can know that okay, if there's an error, it will show maybe all those your word, your Microsoft Word, it shows like a red line or something. Can at least allow you to contain the errors a little bit. Or we also use this developer tool, so that in case this image is on the left and you are sure that you put it on the right, you can just go to the image here and you can see the style applied to it. Like I told you, remember what I said about this? This width here is an attribute that does what the style does. And as you can see here, it's an attribute style. Basically, it is not a style, it's not a property, rather, it's an attribute that alters the property. But you will understand, like, how I put it, the hierarchy of how properties are rendered on your page. So, moving on, if we select the image, you can see all the CSS applied to it, and then we can actually go here. This is a user agent. I mean, this is a style. This is a attribute style, so I can actually edit it. But normally, let's say we add a style, and okay, since all of us understand what this body is, we understand the basic structure, the elements, or the descriptor rather, which can be element, ID, or class, or whatever you want it to be. And it has properties here. We can alter it. Let's just, since we already linked our CSS, let's just change the whole body to be red to start with. So can just say body, this gives us a body, and we have a curly braces. Now I can say the color, because the background color of that, the whole background color of the whole body should be, let's say blue. I like blue better. Okay, should be blue. And all these things here are just the property of your browser. For instance, your CSS, this blue, what is you having this kind of like light pink stuff? It looks fun because it looks very simple. You can just specify colors that you want, and it will put it for you, but it doesn't really give you power you want. We'll talk about colors. Colors make or mar your page. Colors are extremely, like, the color selection you have in your browser can spoil everything you want to do. It's one of the most important things in designing a web page, or what do you call it? Using also with your white spaces and the structure and whatever. I'm not here to teach you how to. I'm not here to teach you maybe how to design beautiful pages. I'm not here to teach you how to design a page, and I'll teach you the basics that you need, and you make your researches. But I also in the midst of it all, give you like what do you call it, tips that you should do and should not do, but you should make your research if you're interested in this stuff. So moving on, let's say we change the background color to light pink or something. Okay, let's make it red, because red is more visible for everybody. And I actually made it red. Okay, this is the body, this is red. Okay, and I'm coming. Okay, now index to HTML. We change this here. Remember, it has to be linked properly. So as you can see, by linking properly, everything has become red. And when we click on the body, you can see that we have this is our own style sheet, and this is the style sheet. You can see that the browser puts our own style sheet above the user style sheet. That means it prefers our own, because obviously we're the ones that is coding this page. The browser is coding shit for us. So it prefers our own, and us putting it here. And you can see, because it's our own, like, because it's our own style sheet, we have all this stuff here. We have this and we have this here. This, like I said, our developer tools, they don't actually change your code, like your actual code structure, your files, like all these things. They don't change it, but they change it live on the browser. For a copy, you change a copy of it live on the browser, so you can like see what it is. So now imagine, like, I have a problem, like, why is this page red? And maybe I have so many elements in my CSS file that I can't actually pinpoint why it is red. You understand what I'm saying? I can easily just come here, check the body tag, that is everything here, and I'll see that, okay, this actually is red. This is what the problem is. If I switch it off, you can see off. which is on, which is off. Oh, so this is now what is causing the problem. I can now go to my code and actually comment this out, and like that, I'll fix my issue. If I want to see what will happen, maybe if I want to like adjust this, I can actually change this to anything I want. Okay, sorry, this is here. What is this? Okay, give me a minute. Okay, here. So I can change it to blue. I can change it to black. Whatever the case may be. I can even remove it altogether. I can add it. I can add a whole style sheet without actually adding it to my code. I can do many things. I can come here and just double click, and I can add, and I can see even the browser itself gives us some suggestions. I can add if I run color back and red, and we are good to go again. You see, it's very flexible. It gives you a lot of power. This is a lot of power for you to use, and you will see the purpose of everything you're building last site, because sometimes with your friend. Okay, so moving on. That is just it. Now let's take something interesting called specificity. In your CSS file, we have what we know as specificity. But before that, let's I want to start off something. Now, for instance, let me ask the question to everybody. Like, let's say I have a background color red and here blue. Oh, sorry, that's not blue. Okay, now this, like you can see, I'm using the same property, right? But the ID is not giving me a warning. It's not telling me what the warning is going to be, like what the problem is or whatever it is. Now, can anybody tell me, like, what do you think the browser will show? Will you show a blue background or a red background? Anybody? Anyone? Just give me what you think. Will you show a red background and blue background? You don't have to be correct. Just give me your idea and why you think it should be blue or red. What do you have to talk? I'm waiting. So what do you have to at least give me an answer? So that I know that okay, we're all participating. Can you guys hear me? Okay, someone said blue. Okay.
Yes, I think red.
Okay, you think red? Why do you think red?
Yes. Because first red first and then red color over.
Okay. Oh, that's a good try. But like the person who said it in the chat, the answer is blue. The answer will be blue background. And the reason why is because your browser renders your CSS file from top to bottom. So me altering this actually plays a huge effect when you are styling, because you might alter an attribute that you already like, rather a property that you already like add before, and you wouldn't notice this, and it will actually like affect the way the web page would look. So this here is just simple. Your brother comes here, it says a body descriptor element, says background red, and when it continues going further, it continues going next, and I see background blue. Now that overrides this red and makes it blue. Simple as that. Even if I add another body element, as you can see, the browser is not complaining. All this yellow line is all because it's empty. So it's telling me that if it's empty, why do I have it? So it's not good to just have empty empty selectors lying around. It just clutters the code. So moving on, if I have a background color of blue, I have it of green. As you can see, it changes to green. Top to bottom. That is the way your CSS, your browser runs your CSS top to bottom. So don't forget that that's a very, very important rule in CSS. You can actually edit properties. I'm not saying it is bad to edit properties that you are made for. It's actually good practice because you always edit properties that you are made for. You cannot do without editing properties that are made before. But it gives you a lot of power doing that, because then you can just be changing this property for whatever slight instances you want. Maybe when the person clicks on this thing, you want the background color to change to black or something, or maybe light gray, or maybe blue for activity. You can do that, and your browser will render it for you that way, and you see that it will be very seamless. Just need to understand that it's from top to bottom, so you won't get to a lot of problems like, why is my code blue when I wanted it to be red? I put red at the top or whatever. Okay, that's besides that. Now moving forward, like I said, I want to do something that's called specificity. Why that's what I'm now? All right. So this basically is just the order in which your CSS prefers to execute. Simple. In the sense that you targeting an element in your HTML file depends. It actually affects the way your CSS renders that HTML element, whatsoever it is. If you strictly target an HTML tag, like you go through all the scopes and you target this file, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to override that. For instance, now the reason why we can easily override this, like I said, from the top to bottom stuff, is because of these two are of the same specificity. They are of the same specificity. For instance, let me just give you, okay, it's wow, thank God, even yourself. As you can see, selector specificity is here. This is it here. You can read up about it in the documentation. Documentations are your friend. Always read documentations. It gives you the idea of what somebody did with their libraries or whatever the standard is, so that you get more used to it. Blah blah blah. Okay, now this, like I said, is selector specificity. This means 001. Now this place here, this one is active. This one is 0 and this one is 0. What it means that depending on what descriptor you use or what selector you use, you have different selector specificity. Now this one we can actually what do you call it? We can actually change this one to green, and the browser can change one to green, because this and this have the same specificity. What am I going to say? Let me just say hierarchy. Let me put it as hierarchy, or if I'm saying, put hierarchy, because I can't be saying that. That's not difficult to say. All right, moving on. This has the same hierarchy as this. Okay, so because this is 001, this is 001. The browser says that, okay, it's basically the same thing as me taking this whole code and putting it here and deleting it. That's what the browser analysis is like. Understand? Because they're the same thing. Now, if I have this body, I have this section. And I'm going to use the elements, how do I put it? The element way to show you thus how it works. For instance, let me explain first of all what this 001 means. The first 0 stands, okay, the first 0 stands for your IDs. The second 0, I don't know, okay, oh, this is not another language. Okay, yeah, the first 0 stands for your ID. The second 0 stands for your classes, and the third 0 stands for your elements. So the reason why it is 001 here, because we're only using how many elements? One element. We're not using a class, we're not using ID whatsoever. So let's come here. We have our body, and within our body scope, we have a section. We have a form. These two scopes are inside one main scope, which is the body scope, which is also inside another main scope, which is the HTML scope. So opening it now, we can see that this is inside the body scope, and if I want to target this section, I can make this whole section. Let me, for instance, make this whole section the background to be white. I can make the background to be white again. So come here, we have our section elements. Background color should be white, and you can see this section, the background color is white. Now, what if and you also can see, because there's only one element, it's showing me what 001. Now, you can also do something like this. We can go to the body elements. Pay attention, please. You can go to body element, then you can go to the section element. What this means is that, okay, oh, sorry. Body section. What this means here, this when you over it, you see it shows what it means. This angled bracket shows us that this body element is the parent of this section element. Now, this section element is contained in this body element. And as you can see something, you can see the selector specificity has increased to 2. That means we have 2 selectors that were specifying. And because of that, it will increase the preference. The browser will actually prefer to render this over this. Now that I said top to bottom, so if you have 2 bodies, as before, let me put this here again. Bodies as before, the browser will render this one. Then you see, oh, you want to vary this, renders it. It comes to another body. Oh, this is still the same body with the same specificity, and you want to vary it with a connection of color of green. So what your brother would do is to just override that with a color of green, and that's all. So moving on. But in this case, your brother will look at this. This is a section. This is the specificity. This is the specificity. This is 001. Now imagine I put the background color here. Let me see, I think it's red. We're using green already. So it's red. Change to red. Normal. This is the normal behavior because this one is below this one. What if I carry all this and I put it up here? As you can see, it's still red. Your brother did not just look at this brown color red and come here and say white and go and change it to white, because this one here has more importance. It has a higher specificity, and hence the browser looks at it as being more important. The browser looks at it that, okay, the language is this. The browser is looking at it, the way is this, that, okay, I want this section in this body to be red, and I want every other section to be white. That is basically what we're doing here. So normally, if this was not here, every other section would be all the sections, even the section in this body elements. Are you listening? But because we already specified this body element in a higher way, we have said that, okay, we are targeting this small portion, and this one should be a different color, and the rest of them can be whatever it is. So imagine I have this section contained in no, let me know. I'm releasing the section already. So imagine I have this H2 here, right? Is in section, and I also have another H2 here. So that's giving us 2 H2s, right? Student table and student table, right? They are the same style, as you can see. Let me move this for an instance. Student table and student table, they are the same styles, as you can see. If I want to target this one, I will target it an H2 style. And for text, the H2 is a text element. H2 is what the text element that I said before. We can specify the color of the text, obviously, but we use a color property. There are lots of properties. I can't teach you everything. Like, I don't even know everything. I don't think anybody knows everything, but because there's so much, but you will know what you use most of the time. You cannot use a handful of them and use it to build complex sites all the time. There is something in CSS that is that requires you to think too broad. Though you have to be learning on the fly too, because there's some stuff that you want to do and you might not be able to do so like you might take tutorials or maybe read documentation for a better understanding. That's by the way. So let me change it to what? Let me change this to why is blue? Is blue? I'm changing this to orange. Such a horrible color scheme. As you can see, every student table is orange, and that's because I specified every header. That's every H2 element to be orange. That means this one here is orange, this one is orange. Now imagine I want to specify only this one to be orange, and the rest of them can be whatever they want to be. So now, by default, I have this as orange. I can just go into the body, the section, and the H2. It doesn't matter. We'll take it individually. We have the body, we have the section, right? And we have the H2. This should be purple, purple, and we have this like this. Let me duplicate this. Okay, and we have this to be, let's see, crimson. Crimson is basically red. So I don't want to give too much of a problem. Okay, let me make this back to white since all of us know what this means already. I cannot remove this. Okay. All right. So right now, you can see out of these three, the browser renders this one. It doesn't look at this, doesn't care this after, doesn't care if this is below or above. It renders this. Let me put this here. Okay, it renders this one first. Even if this one is supposed to override it, it still render this one. Imagine if this one was body section issue, it will show a crimson. But because they have the same specificity. But this one has higher specificity, that is 3 elements, that is 003. This one is not going to be preferred, it's going to be the most preferred one because the rest of them have lower specificity. So even if I comment this one out, the browser looks at this two, which one has the higher specificity? This one, so it's going to be crimson. And if I comment this one out, the browser now looks at this one, oh, this is the one that has that H2 has been started for, so it's going to be orange. So that is basically the thing about using your elements to specify which one you want to, which style you want the browser to favor before whatever. So it helps you out because now you remember this progressive kind of styling that can go bottom or whatever. You can actually now just make it readable, because what we do most of the time is that we style this, we style this, we style this, we style this. It makes the code the CSS very readable for someone that wants to maybe edit it on the fly or quickly. Not that you're gonna style this, you can do it, but I mean, I don't think it makes sense for you to be styling the header, maybe the icon, or maybe the student's image, the student table last, and you styling like a footer somewhere here, a footer. You're styling it first. It's not bad. It looks weird. Not bad. But that is basically how we do it. So if you are styling like that, now you know that, okay, maybe the student table, this H2 tag is only orange here, and all of them are black elsewhere. You know that if I'm not using this specific,
the human is gonna put deep conditioner and sleeping conditioner.
Okay, so
before washing it.
Can you mute your microphone, please?
Mega growth. I thought you said you don't watch it. I don't watch it now. Okay, she has not got to call me. Oh, she
Hello, okay. Okay, that's muted. So as you can see, if I'm not using this method, this specific kind of method, I'm using this kind of progressive method, it means that if you have our H2 at the top that we're starting first because of, we want to start it in the order of document flow, we have to take that H2 and put it to the bottom of any other H2 in this table, so that we'll be able to show. And that is weird because if anything happens, if you want to add another H2 style, this one results in it having it. So what we can actually now impose the H2 style, this one to be red, and this one to be orange by giving it a high specificity. And that is all. This one can be red. And the rest of them in the whole browser can be orange for whatever reason or whatever you want. That is just it. That is now basically the essence of any type of way, any type of how do you call it? Selector that you want to have your specific whatever for. So that's just it. But the thing is this, yeah, I'm explaining this specific thing to you like it is good. Don't get it wrong, it is not actually encouraged. It's not encouraged for you to be using higher specificity like this. It is totally discouraged. You shouldn't be doing this because it makes your code more rigid. It makes your code like more difficult to edit in this sense of this H2 like this now. I know that this H2 here, everything's going to be orange, right? And this particular body section is going to be this. Now, what if I wanted to make every section in maybe like every H2, maybe I have multiple H2s here. Let's see. Maybe I have another H2 here rather. And say this is an H2. Oh, sorry. And this is an H2, right? Now, let me see here. Okay, this one here is here. Okay, now what if I have this? Now, I have it for that two of this, and I have one of this size. Let me get this. Student two. One. All right. That should be correct. Okay. Now the thing is this. Me having only this way, I can easily just say that every H2 inside this section is going to be crimson, obviously. Like these two of them are going to be crimson, right? Fine. Now, if I have another section in the section, and I have this student H2, I have it in this section. As you can see, it's still showing me that every student, what they call it, every section, every H2 section is still going to be crimson, no matter whether I have it deep in the hierarchy or not, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be general. If I go and specify just this body section, watch this. Quite okay. Because both of them are already in body. Basically, everything I want to do is body. So specifying body is actually very like it is redundant. You don't need to be specifying body section. You can remove the body because all of them are already in body. So I can just say section and section, and I have my H2, and I can say the color is green. Oh wow. Okay. And section H2. I hope we could. We have a section here. Okay, let me see. Okay. Now as you can see, this one is what? This one is green, and this one is still crimson. Now the problem I have with this is the fact that yes, it gives us control. It allows us to basically target these elements, but I want all these elements to be crimson in the section, and I only want specific types of elements to be to be green in the second section. So me using this, you basically tell the browser, okay, no matter what it is, even if I have five student tables inside the second order section, that is the second section, all of them will be green or something because of specificity. So I can actually now edit those ones because I've really like imposed the style that by using that very high specificity that okay, this one inside this one, I want it to be this. Simple as that. And that is going to make it more, because if I have multiple student tables, I'm going to make it more rigid. So what do I want to do about that? Now, how do I combat this kind of useless stuff? What I'll do is that what I'll do is this. I will just use a higher specificity, and that is actually like I said, you make it as low as possible. Even though you can style an element, you know that this is the only H2 in the whole page. This is the only H2 in the whole page. Don't go and start doing body. Don't start doing this nonsense, because this doesn't just make any sense. You can just put an H2 so that in case you now have multiple H2s, right? And you have to style this one specific. You want to style one specifically. You understand? You can easily just override it with a higher specificity. And the reason why I told you it is discouraged for you to be having higher specificity, because there's a level you reach in your specificity that CSS cannot actually override again. So you keeping it low all the time allows you to edit more. It allows you to be able to manipulate more styles effectively, just by increasing the specificity minutely, like just small, increase one to small and small. But you increase them in jumps, very, very huge jumps. It allows your code to be more rigid, because by the end of the day, you reach a high specificity, which I'll show you with the exclamation points. You reach a high specificity that no matter what you do, you cannot change that code again. You cannot change that style again, because that point is what the CSS power cannot. The CSS rather will just be like, okay, this is the highest one. There's nothing higher than this, so I can't actually render this when this is the highest one. That is basically the idea of why you should keep your specificity low. Understand? And try to manipulate it to your own liking. Okay. Now we are dealing with all these 0, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1. Now let's go to, now, like I said, the second one is the second 0 is a class. Yeah, I think we have classes specified already. We have this as well. I move this. We have this as our, like I said, you specify class to class. This is our main heading, and right, doesn't do anything because it's just a class. Now I'm going to move all this. Let us clear all this text. You want to have an effect, okay? Background color can still be cleared. Okay, that should be white. All right, now we're good to go. This one doesn't actually mean anything. So we are good to go right now, and we have a class here. And what I said was this: classes. Let me put this heading. Classes helps you to group your elements together. It's a very powerful feature. Very powerful feature, because unlike elements that if I specify an element here, if I specify an H2, the browser will be like, whatever H2 I see on the page, I'm styling it color purple. Simple. It doesn't care whether you have hundreds of them. It doesn't care whether you want only 50 of them to be styled purple and the rest of them should be styled green. It doesn't care. You have to try to increase your specificity, and I think that's bad. But with classes, though classes have a higher specificity than elements, it allows us to be able to select, okay, I want this headings, this H2, this particular 3 H2 tags. I want these elements, I want them to be purple, and I want these other ones to be blue, and I want these other ones to be black. And like that, you can easily do that. So for instance, we have our heading. We want to specify a class in CSS. We use a dot. Classes are specified with a dot in CSS, in JavaScript, whatever you want to do. I mean, they're different. Sorry, you get when you get it, you see the differential. So when CSS, they're specified with a dot. CSS class are specified with a dot anywhere. So like, what is the name of the class we use? Use an heading class, right? Headings, rather. And same way we do it, put our braces. And now I can change the color to red, and change to red. Now, if I have another student table here, but without this class, now see, it doesn't use red class. I put it here, and it gives it red. It's very good, because now I can have classes like this, red headings, Okay, and it's 1 and 1. And I can have this as blue headings, right? And I'll put this as table 2. And come here, I change this to red headings. I duplicate this. Click so. I come here and I change it to what? Blue. Right? Easily. You can also do student table very easily. Now, when we hover over this, we see the set of specificity to be 0, 1, 0. Think of binary. First 0 is the first side is 1, the other side is order of tens. No matter how much elements you use, you can use a body section, header, or maybe body section, infinity. You use now target a particular text, a particular paragraph P. It will never have a higher specificity than class. It will never have a higher specificity than class. And that makes it very, very, very important to know, because by the end of the day, we can just use our code, because think about classes as being best of both worlds. It is not IDs, because IDs give you almost maximum specificity. It's not IDs. But at the same time, it is not elements that just gives you very, very little specificity. It gives you the adequate amount you need to design your your CSS file or website. And it's good because a lot of sites these days you can't actually do without classes. You can do without IDs. You can do without elements, but you can't do without classes. You can't. It just makes your code. Makes coding writing CSS very difficult, extremely difficult. So have the habit of using classes. As you can see, for instance, I'll teach you also some methods you can use to better yet use this ability of specificity into your own liking. Okay, look at this. Let me give you a sneak peek. Okay, for instance, we have these headings. These are headings, all of my headings. What am I having? All of this supposed to be contained in the class. What if I wanted all these headings to be of a small font? Maybe I want to decrease the font. Do I really have to start coming here and start saying font size to be 16 pixels, and or maybe by default it's 16 pixels, maybe like 10 pixels, and if I do that, you can see it only does this 2 ones. But I want all my headings, because all of them are still headings. I want all my H2 headings in this instance to be the same size. And it is weird because now I have to start doing, so if I have anytime you have green headings, I have to put font size 10, font size 7. This is code duplication. This is code redundant. This is so redundant. This is very hideous in code. What you do basically to go around that is basically, since you know that this is all these are headings, you can easily just remove. Okay, let me put all this here. Can easily just put this as headings. Because all of them are headings already. And after putting this as headings, we can just say, okay, I want this one to be red. I want this one to be red. Now, this basically means that, remember what I said about this being an attribute that shows you that allows you to specify a class of elements. This actually allows you to specify classes of elements. You can specify multiple classes. Headings, red. So if I have a class headings and a class red and I specify them in my CSS file, this one will apply those 2 styles together to this. You see what I'm talking about in a minute. Okay, this is it. Red, blue, blue. Nice. Now, coming back, you have to edit our CSS files, obviously. So we come here, we have our headings. Let's move this and make it our headings. And our headings, we want all our headings to be what? To be 10 pixels. This one doesn't actually matter anymore. So by default, all our headings are 10 pixels. Because this has headings, it looks the style as headings. So the HTML like, okay, the Bible like, okay, that headings, and all that headings, put them here. Now the ones that I now want to be red, I color them red, and the ones that I want to be blue, I call them blue. That's by the way. And you can see, right now I cannot easily just change the size of all of them, while each of them will maintaining their individual properties without without allowing code duplication. And I don't have to specify this once, specify this once, specify this once. So even if I have another one, if I want this one to be green, I'll just come here and add the green class. And that's okay. What do I do here? Okay, spot green. And that's all. This is green. Let me make it light green so you guys will see. Yeah, this is green. So you can see, I don't actually have to be putting 20 pixels, 10 pixels here. It's just one of the ways which we use to try and make our code more efficient. So the browser wouldn't, please, so the browser wouldn't not constantly continue to do this. Well, okay, moving on. Let me try this question first. Okay. Okay. Moving on. We are going to also talk about specificity. Now let's go to the IDs part. IDs are basically like your highest in your highest specifier. Basically, you can what they use to, like I told you before, you just use to target a specific element, no other elements in the page. So, for instance, if I have an ID of maybe this is an ID of the first table, that means this here no other is2 elements or whatever or any element in your code should have this first table ID. You can put it, you can try it, you can put it inside any of your other elements, but you see that the browser will only pick the first one it sees. If the first instance it sees of this ID, if I put ID first table here, the browser only takes it as the first table. The rest of them, it basically doesn't give a shit about it because they are not supposed to be there. Now, moving on. Okay, this is ID table. Now, when we go back here, we see that our style specificity is 010. So as we expected, if we have an ID first table, we specify our IDs in CSS as an hashtag and a hashtag, and what's the ID's first table. You can see why this instance. You can see why we colors it. The elements are red, the classes are orange, the IDs are blue. And you can see the specificity. You see 100, and this underline, detail underline is basically telling us that we shouldn't use empty rule sets because it just doesn't affect our browser and you just process our code like I said before. So notice all these small things and help you go a long way writing your CSS. So moving on, we want to color that first header. I don't know why I call it first table, that's just weird. So let's call it like the first heading. That would have made more sense. Okay. So like what we're talking about now, the color or the first heading now can be let's say we make it what would I say? Let me say purple. Now this here just guys, we're done. Next 20 minutes of wrapping up. So what was that? I was really asking me what you want to do. All right, so this as you can see, it becomes purple. This was our red class, our blue class, or whatever. But as you can see also, I still specified this as red in the what's the word? In the HTML file, this was still red. But because the ID as it takes preference, anytime you use an ID, it takes preference, it allows you to better target your elements. This should be purple. So even if I put this here, for instance, above this, it's supposed to be red, but it's still going to be purple. Let me show you. It's going to be purple no matter what you do. It's still going to be purple. So that just shows that this here it is now. Like I said, this allows you influence elements for you can. This is always good better than this. And this is always good better. Even if you have millions of classes used in a particular element, this just one ID in an element will always be better than the millions of classes used. IDs are good when you want one particular element to have one particular element to have an attribute that nothing else must have, but you have a difficulty targeting that element because that element is everywhere. That's what IDs are used for. You can do that. Fine, it's not bad using an ID, but when you are styling, IDs are good for when you want to target it in JavaScript or whatever, you can do that. But when you are styling, please always try and avoid using IDs as much as possible. You might eventually need to use it, but avoid it as much as possible because they increase your specificity by a whole bunch. Because right now, no matter what I apply to this first heading, if I say this color purple, I can apply 100 classes and now I can't do anything about this. One of this is equated to me infinity of classes and elements, what's it elements. You understand? So that's very bad. And you also see the fact that okay, well, if I have like another, and you can see the fact that I can't actually have multiple IDs, like I said, like the same way I said that this ID is a unique a unique, basically unique phrase, a unique keyword for an element that no other elements will have. It's also the same way that one element is entitled to one ID. You cannot have all right. You cannot have multiple IDs.
More than one ID.
Yes, exactly. So, and because of that, if I have this as a first color purple and I want to edit this, it's possible for me. Simply, it's impossible for me to change this color purple in any way I want. It's impossible for me because now I can't actually have another ID for it. So we can actually go around this, but now we're going into the realm of what's in our code. It's more like it's a way of how do we try and stop this because we most likely use IDs. Most of codes will not write it, but most likely use IDs. So maybe when we're building a sample site or something, we most likely use IDs. But the thing is that how do you now go around this? What if I want to change this to color purple? You get? Or rather yet, let's say we have let's pick a less let me see. Okay, yeah, let's pick a less specificity and we have blue, we have edits. Now the same way now this is always 0, this is 0, 1, 0. The same way we can also use multiple elements to specify a possible multiple selectors to specify an element. You can also use the same to specify classes. So if I want this to target only what do you call it, elements that only red only headings that are red or only red headings, basically. How do I put this? All right, let me put it this way. We have these two reds, right? And these reds are in this section, right? And I put this outside.
Yeah.
Headings red, headings red, headings red, right? Now I put this here as a class, a section. Okay. Now, me putting this as a class and section, I can actually say that I want only this headings, the headings in this section to be red. I can easily just go here and say dot section, and if you can see, it will go straight away to the section. Then only these ones will be red, So in my browser, whatever once I have this student table, it is not going to be, let me quickly just do this. Okay, yep. All right. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, these ones here are in the section. This heading red is in the section. This one is also heading red, but it doesn't allow, when I put section heading red, it only styles this one. And obviously that's because of what I said before. This has a higher specificity. Now it has what to do. Now, unlike elements that we just use body, we span, let's say span, what do you have a span, you understand, whatever. You can also do the same, rather like elements, you can also do the same thing. So what this does, think about it, what this does is showing us something, showing us an element class section, dot element class. So that means what is saying that, okay, which elements in this so far as a section class. This is a section class, for instance. Any of them can be multiple of them, doesn't matter. As a section class. Now, I put a space. Me putting a space tells you that, okay, I can go as deep as I want into this thing. And I'm not like, if which element has a class of red? This one has a class of red, so to change style to red. So even if I have another section, and this one is here, it will still style it red. Sorry. Bad network. All right, it will still style it red because it's basically saying your section, no matter how deep you go, just look for an element that's your class red in that section, and it will style it red. If we only want the direct what they call it, the direct class, for instance, we have this one. Let's make this table 10, and we know that, okay, by default, all of this here, any red inside the section will always be red, but we don't want this to be red. We don't want it. We want it to be that, okay, only the headings directly inside this section are red. No matter if they're inside another scope, maybe they're inside a division or another block of code, they're not going to be, they should not be red. Only this one should be red. We can use a child selector, and that's what we used before. We use a child selector, and that child selector is what? It's this. So this basically tells us that, see, I want to set for element in this class section, and is there a class red in this in after that section? Even if there's a class red inside another section, inside that section, it's not going to style it red. It's only going to style that class red that's immediately in that section. Like it's going to do, if you have this as your login, if you want to style this login, your HTML blue, you simply say login child selector login.html, whatever. Let's say this is a class red, login HTML, the style is red. So no matter what is inside there, even if I have another login to HTML here, it's not going to care about it. But as me, I let a space, it will style this one here and also start one inside it. So I think that's clear enough. So
okay, all right.
So let's see.
So basically, the space before the dot matters a lot.
Yeah, it matters a lot. It matters a lot.
Okay, all right.
All right. So as you can see too, it styles only that one that is directly, because use the child selector, it styles that are directly in it. Yeah. And the ones that are within another section, within another scope, inside the same section, it's not going to style it anything. So that's all we need to know about specificity. You can see this is of this block here. 1000101. So like that, now you can actually be able to calculate specificity of an element. I think the browser, if I can remember correctly, browser should give us specificity of, I can't remember where it is. Okay, well, I can't remember now, but the point is that that's all things about it. Now it's very important. That is one of the, it took me a lot of time to explain this because it's a very, very important aspect. Is if you understand that aspect, you would have solved basically like 40-50% of every problem you encounter in CSS. Because every encounter in CSS is mostly about when I type this thing, and when I change the font to 30 pixels, and I go back to the browser, it doesn't change. What is happening? It's always most likely going to be because of the way you target your stuff, where you specify your elements in the CSS, whether you specify it to the ID rather, a class, or a normal element selector. It's always going to be that once. It's always going to be that fault. Most likely going to be that fault, but that fault can be there too. Okay, more. We also have other things like units. I haven't actually like told you all this stuff, all this what this is about. Like I would send to you, since this is we have like just 10 minutes left because I've been recording for almost 2 hours right now. So I will send you guys the, and like I think I'll look for another cheat sheet to send you just for CSS to list out all the tags, which are thousands by the way. To list out all the tags, but like most of the tags are basically they are basically written in English, like this font size, specify the font, this font width. You can see when you take a font, specify the weight size, the weight to allow you to specify maybe bold, and whatever you want, maybe make it bolder by a degree. The font family, whether Times New Roman, font style, maybe italics, or so it gives us a lot of abilities that you can just start getting your hands into and just start working on them, start testing them out and see how you like and feel on your sites, maybe what do you call it, on your page like this. And though there are still more advanced ones, understand, and when you want to do some animations or transitions or transforms, they are more advanced than normal, because you can't just start using them. You have to actually know what you're doing with them. So we'll still treat those ones, and those ones are actually very interesting because they can make your website very lively, very, very lively, as opposed to this static stuff.
All right.
Okay. So and we also have things called units. Like this is pixels. We have we have it like we use 20M. For instance, let's load first. Sorry, guys, you can see 20M is different from 20 pixels. It's different from 20 rem.
What comes to your mind?
I can't really hear you. What are you saying? Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying clearly. I think it's your mic or something. Can you type it in the chat so that I can just address it when I see it? All right. Because I think your mic is having a problem. So but okay, just type it in the chat, please, and I'll address it as soon, like immediately when you do that. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is rem. Rems are different from M's, they're different from pixels, inches, I don't know, feet, everything, they're just different. Even they have other absolute relative units. They are divided because all your units are divided into two, either absolute or relative. Is that they are using a unit that is relative to what's another element, or we are using an hard-coded unit, like an absolute unit. So the basic color of them is the pixel. I'm just giving you like a overview of what we're going to do maybe next class. So that I'm trying as much as possible not to teach you much. I'm just trying to teach you, okay, like most of the time today, what is it about CSS is just the structure, basic structure of how the selector and property model look like, and specificity. That's what we just handle today, nothing else in CSS. And it's good because if you are grounded in those fundamental stuff, you can easily expand your knowledge like a lot more efficiently than as opposed to you don't know what all this is about. So if you know how to use relative units and absolute units and what to use them for, because you can't just be using your relative units and absolute units anyhow. You can do it, but it actually take your time. You take more of your time as opposed to, okay, let's say you have a text in this text, right? It's ridiculous. Let's say 20 pixels, right? Now let's say you have this text. Let me make it 50. 40 pixels, right? This is small. Okay, let's see 70. All right, this is good. So let's say you have this like this, right? Imagine you want to imagine you want to see how this will look like in a smaller phone. It will look like this, exactly like this. It will actually just be, the person will have to like scroll to the to the right, as opposed to, okay, you can see this one is really responsible. But the point is this: the person will have to scroll to the right. The reason why it's overflowing here is because it's a text. Because if it was a block element or whatever element you see a truncation. You see a truncation that actually, like, the screen size cannot write it. Because if you should increase it to maybe something absurd, you can see the same truncation happening here, that we actually have to scroll and read it. So you see that at this point here, this text is good for you to be certifying something like this absolute functionally. But if we make this text maybe relative to a particular container, we have a container in our code, like all these are containers. This here is a container. This section is a container, like I said before. This is another container within a container. This is a container within a container, within a body container. You understand? This is also a container to a form container. So if we actually make this text shrink, because let me show you the for instance how the layout will look like. Let's say we have this as CPX, right? Let's say we have this as CPX, right? Now coming here, you can see that this is section. This is a section. This is a container. When we open the section, you can see another container that has this element. You can see student element and this container. You can see, and this is everything inside another container like this. Now, if we want to let's say we have this container. As we are shrinking this container down, we want this container to shrink with it. We want the text to shrink with it. We don't just want it to be big. Because we're doing it like this, you can see it's still big. So imagine on a small phone. Or explain what all these things mean, maybe like just maybe an extra class. So just explain what all this, how you can use all these things effectively to make your site responsible. Imagine you have a small phone. This is too ridiculous. Imagine you have a small phone like this, a slim phone, like all our phones are slim these days. They're very tall, but they're slim. You can see all the text is ridiculously huge. Like you're wasting a lot of space. Like, because the person has a small phone, so the person can be able to see smaller text, and as opposed to a big screen that can not see smaller text, you have to use a big text. So we can actually like use relative units to actually okay, when this box is reducing, we can actually reduce the text with it. So as we're reducing this, instead of us to be using what you call it, stuff like media queries to be setting breakpoints for our text, we can easily just use relative units and just reduce the text with the width to a certain point, and you can make maybe a minimum like limits to where the text can reduce to, and the maximum limits where the text can increase to, and that now just saves us the whole problem of trying to specify trying to specify for different screens and stuff. And something we'll undo all this next class, and it's actually a very interesting portion of CSS, because it will allow you to edit your write your code that you can just write it for your big screen and your small screen, and obviously you still have to use queries for some stuff, but it will enable you to be able to easily just do that with less queries, and as opposed to you having queries with multiple parties or maybe duplicate code just because you want to change the font size or something. You have to change font of each element and stuff, or maybe each section or something that has different font sizes and stuff. So it helps you out in that regards. Units are actually very important, and you get to know about this stuff right now. So I think we're already at 2 hours. Are there any questions? Do you have any questions for today?
Okay, Chooks.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I think I want to suggest that I'm just speaking for myself anyway, that we get, I don't know, assignments probably on a weekly basis, such that we would be able to practice a lot of these things. Because for someone like me, the class we held the first time and this one, I understand everything perfectly. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah, I understand them perfectly, but I feel like I would do better if I get to practice and then you assess my work, rather than just learning and learning and learning for a very long time. Do you get that?
Okay, I understand. So
Yeah.
okay, I'll see what I can do to give you guys some exercises on maybe to, since
Yeah.
if I send the cheat sheets or whatever, can give exercises for how I want this to be like this and that's better. And all of you use what you have learned to actually do that. So that's a very good idea. Thank you very much. So,
Yeah.
so is there any other question
Thank you.
or any other recommendation or whatever?
No. I understood the class very well. You did a good job.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so you guys have a
Thank you.
good day. I will try to have another class within other classes within the week too, but I don't know how much. I don't know because many people. It looks like people want to be having more recorded classes, but rather than interactive sessions because of the length of it, and I don't know if that is going to be affecting you guys. If I prefer to have interactive sessions where you can ask questions and actually see what I'm doing like live, and as opposed to having a recorded take whereas I made a mistake, you know, I actually start disturbing with messages and stuff in the group. So maybe during the week I'll set some times and stuff, and you guys just tell me if you're okay with it. But some of us are busy with school these days too. So that's just it. I'll talk to you guys in the group right now. Take care, guys.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good night.
Okay.